Lights out, green flag, here we go. You pay for the whole seat, but you're only gonna need the edge.
The Thunder Road Podcast, telling the stories of the South Texas racers from the past and present.
Hello, my name is James Parks, and welcome to the Mother's Day edition of the Thunder Road Podcast. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Top Hat Signs and Designs, 112 Bodies, Proline Fabrication, S&S Monuments. This episode is full of hard truths from racing mothers and wives in the local racing scene. And welcome to a special edition of the Thunder Road Podcast. It's the Mother's Day edition, Mother's Day special, I should say. We have Carolyn Whiteaker and Erika Parks. They're here with us today to talk about lives as mothers of race car drivers, also maybe family members, husbands, dads. These ladies right here are heavily involved in the racing scene and the racing world. With that, welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Carolyn. Tell us about you. Tell us what we don't know.
Well, first off, I'm 29. I'm just kidding. No.
What year were you born? Do the math.
TB. Yeah, I don't know. I can't do math right now. In the 90s.
We'll just go with 29. So you're both
In
29.
2000. No. So, as you said, what do you just talk?
Just tell me who you are. Tell me who you are, what you do.
Okay.
Who your husband is, who your son is.
Okay.
What the cat's name is, the dog's name. Let's put it all out.
Okay. So right now I'm Carolyn Whiteaker. I was Carolyn Carter.
Daughter of Austin.
Yep. He and my uncle's GB. I'm sure everybody knows him.
The legend.
Yes, as he calls
hiding.
himself.
He's coming in next.
Oh Lord, he'll be here forever.
We love you, GB.
Yes, we do. So my involvement in racing was through my dad. He started when he was 16, and I don't remember my uncle, but it was a brother racing thing. And then somewhere along the way, he met my mom. I was born. Then she started racing, and then my aunt was racing, and that just happened. And then one day, when I didn't have any sports going on, because we were, still in high school, I went to McAllen, the speedway out there.
And Speedway.
Mm-hmm, yep. And that's how I met Steven. I was sitting there watching my dad hot lap or doing something, and somebody comes in and smacks me with a tire up. Oh, what the hell? Who did that? And he's all, so with his.
Did he make that exact face?
I don't know, probably.
Awesome.
So, but anyway, so that's how we met. And we've been together since 2003.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time to put up with him, or a long time for him to put up with you.
No,
which way does it work?
Around.
All right. And Erika, tell us a little bit about how about yourself and how you got in this racing world.
Well,
I don't know the story, so tell me.
oh yeah, okay. So Erika Parks, aka Erika 6. I didn't grow up racing. That was not in the family. I think I may have went to the track a couple times as a kid with my dad. And then
Which track did you go to? Do you remember?
CC Speedway.
All right.
And then my Aunt Marcia did dabble in like demolition derby stuff. But
She didn't dabble. She was big into it.
Yeah, but I think I was too little. I didn't really know. And then Bartel.
They still tell stories about Marcia doing her demo derbies and stuff.
I've heard the stories.
CC Speedway?
Mm-hmm. But I don't necessarily remember it. And then Bartel, obviously, I'm going to say he's family.
Yeah.
I knew he was in the racing scene. I didn't know how heavily until I met you. And then, yeah, went from there. Me and you met in 2005. And it was a world of difference there.
It was an eye-opener for sure.
Well, it was racing every day, all day, 24/7.
I assume from y'all's standpoint, from being mothers, wives, daughters of racers, it can be too much at sometimes.
Most definitely.
So,
especially at first.
Yeah.
Like I was like, what in the hell are we doing?
Do you still say that today?
Sometimes.
Recently?
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
I've gotten a lot. I've grown up a bunch though, where I used to think I had to be at every race.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to be at every race.
No, I think as we've all gotten older, myself included, I still love racing. I still love the aspect. I still love the challenge of it, but I don't have to do it every Saturday night anymore. I don't have that. I'm not gonna say I don't have that drive, because I do, but I have other things to do now. The kids are growing up. There's other things that can keep us motivated and keep us moving. So
Just don't miss the volleyball game.
I didn't. I had my whole crew there. So we won't even go with that, Pat. So the transition from mom, from wife, from daughter to Saturday night. So we obviously know racing will consume all of your time. On our end, it consumes as much time as we'll give it, sometimes more, as far as dads working on the kids' cars or customers' cars or whatever it may be. So basically just us working on the cars takes up a bunch of time, and you guys are kind of having to deal with the at-home that not everybody sees. Being in that position, how tough is that for you guys to put up with all that time gone, and then here it is Saturday night, and we're standing behind our kids or our husbands or our dads 100%. Like, a lot of folks don't realize how hard that actually is. So if y'all could describe that to the person that just doesn't know. You want to start that off? Who wants to start it off?
She's got more kids. I think she probably has to deal with a little bit more than me, but.
Well, I mean, so backtracking, my dad, he was never there, right? Like, never, no games. Like, I probably can count a handful of times that he was ever at any game. So that was hard, right? Like, I tell stories. I'm like, I don't see, Stephen told you he was on the track nine, right? Stephen goes, so it's like, Stephen's like, I don't want to be that person not at my kids' events, because I tell him the stories. Like, my dad was never there. He was either always at the race car shop working on his car. Sometimes he got home like 11, 12, and I was already asleep. And then he was asleep when I left. So I really hardly ever saw him when I was getting older. And with him, before we had kids, it was the same thing, 10 o'clock at night getting home. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I would kind of go hang out at the shop with him. And then I'm like, this is boring. I can go do something else. So I would go home. But I don't really have friends. So I didn't go out and do anything with anybody.
Your friends are his friends.
Yeah. And so it's like, it was either the race car shop or the apartment. And, it's boring at both places. So I was like, whatever. But now, as the kids are getting older and he doesn't want to miss the kids' events, and it helps with him, what he does, doing his own thing with the towing and working on cars when he wants to, that he's there at home. So it's not that burdensome, as it could be with 4 kids by myself, because I guarantee I wouldn't have 4 kids if he was never there. I'd be like, one and done, dude. But no, it's gotten a lot better as the kids are getting older, and I don't know if most people can say that, because the bug is it bites hard, the racing bug, and it's hard to pull that out of people. And
I don't know that it ever leaves. Once
no, it doesn't. But it's hard. I think it's really hard on him, because on Stephen, my husband, because you can see him, like, he wants to be there, and then he's like, oh, no, Stephen wants him. Do you want to, Stephen? Do you really want to go? You want to race, right? And I'm like, he probably doesn't want to race. Like, you're like forcing him, but no, my kid wants to race, and
he's ready to go.
Yeah, so that's kind of my experience as growing up and then marrying into it and then now. So,
and Erika, what's your take on it? So you have your dad racing, who is mid-60s?
Yes.
Mid-60s and not afraid of anything.
No.
And then your daughter,
scares the absolute shit out of me.
When your daughter, that's 9 going on 19, racing a go-kart. I don't count because I'm old and washed up.
You still count.
29 and counting.
Yes.
And holding.
So complete different aspect than Carolyn. Obviously, I didn't grow up with it.
It was
so I didn't. Well, no, I didn't know how extensive it. How far it reached into the family, and it does. It consumes, and it. At first, I hated it. I absolutely hated it, and it was just me and James. There was no kids involved.
We were traveling a lot.
We went everywhere. It was the Dwarf Car series, so we were never at home. Worked all week, and all weekend was traveling, and then driving back home and starting back up at work. Yeah. He made it good, though. He was fun.
So it was myself, Erika, and my dad driving.
Yeah,
like
but we were hauling the
Dodge pickup.
It was a Dodge. No, it was your old Ford with the whatever you call it, camper. And then we had this trailer that like they stacked. And we were hauling everybody else's shit around ultimately. So to me, I was like, well, what the hell is we doing here? They were all really nice people.
This is fun.
Yeah. But they were all really nice people, but I didn't know any of them really. And I'm going to say I felt kind of outcast because I wasn't racing. You know, I didn't grow up with that. And then having the kids, obviously it changed everything because then I wasn't so like, he's not home until 10 o'clock. I had something to take care of. I had a job, so to say. So that kind of changed a lot. It made me grow up, made you grow up. He used to not come home until the wee hours of the morning working on race cars. And now 7 o'clock, he's supposed to be home.
We don't
Doesn't
live too
always
far.
happen.
We don't live too far from
But
here,
he's pretty good about it. So
No, from my point of view, much like you had said, Carolyn, I want to be there when the kids go to bed. And my dad also didn't really attend a lot of my school functions, not because he was a bad person. My dad worked a lot, the race car side, but my dad's race car career, I should say, was not this. Like we had a small shop at home. This was like NASCAR to him, you know, so night and day difference. But I do want to be there for Pistols games. I do want to be there when Rebel races his juice box. Like sometimes I think people like, oh, he's just a race car driver, doesn't care. No, that's not the case. We do care, but this is an addiction.
sometimes maybe a little too much.
Yeah.
Is
It's bragging rights. At the end of the day, it's bragging rights and natty lights.
Cheers.
So as your son, Stephen III, is entering the racing world pretty heavily, how does that work
By
out?
choice, and that's scary.
How does that work for you? So obviously your husband has raced, I'm going to say all over the country, very well known, very good at what he does. And now your son is trying to come up in that shadow. I don't know. So does he want to fill those footsteps? Does he want to be his own man? Does he want to be his own person? And how do you deal with, you're telling him to clean his room, you're trying to get him to school on time, you're trying to do all this stuff because he's still a kid.
Yeah.
But when he puts the helmet on, he's a grown man. How do you deal with that as a mom? The emotions, the highs, the lows.
Well, I mean, he's the first. He's like, I feel like the first I don't want to say has to grow up faster, but you know, he's got 3 little siblings. So it's like you're focusing on the little ones. And then by the time you know it, he's racing, you know, late models and E-mods. I'm like, what the hell did this happen? But it's something he wants to do. Like he said the other day, like, I want to race. I'm like, no, can you do like football or something? But he wants to do it. And I still have to remind him, like, hey, Steven, clean your room. Like, hey,
How old is he?
He's 13. He just turned 13 in December. And I think that's hard for even the adults that he races with to get that he's still a kid, because the Whitaker name's been around for a long time.
And I think a lot of times just people hear the name and they already tag it.
Yeah.
They just tag it with a certain,
And it's hard to break that, I don't want to say like generational curse, but you know, it's hard to say like, this is a kid. He's his own person. Yeah. Like he's not living in a shadow of anybody. He wants to be his own person. And it's hard for people to see that, because they automatically hate you because they know who they dealt with generations before. And that's something that I'm like, grow up. Like, this is a kid. You're 50, 60-year-old men, maybe women, but like, grow up. Like, I'm not going to go and treat your kid like shit because, or, you know, like crap because like we had maybe, you know, we had a confrontation. Like, that's a kid. Like you shouldn't treat a kid like that. You know, I just feel that kids need the support. And what really, I know Steven kind of like, you know, didn't do really good this weekend, which, you know, he did get an earful all Saturday night. Good and bad, you know, kind of trash talking in a good way. But anyways, but you know, like Parker won his first race. Like I think it's ever, right? His first E-mod race or something.
So that the thing with the racetrack is there's always someone that leaves happy. Yeah. There's always someone that leaves sad.
But I'm kind of like gonna go. I don't know, maybe you can edit this out. But there was no interview in the front stretch. Like, that's his first race. That's the last race of of the night. You know,
Take a little time to appreciate.
He didn't get an interview. I'm not bashing the track. Maybe it was a time constraint, weather, whatever. But he didn't get that interview. And then, like, if that was my kid winning his first race, like, you would have to be pulling me, like, from jumping over the fence onto the racetrack. Like, that's a different. I don't know, but I just feel like there's not a lot of support for the younger kids, maybe because of the other generations.
Do you feel like some of the other racers are intimidated by the fact that he's so the younger kids coming up are so talented, or you think they're intimidated by the last name? Because you brought that up. So you obviously have a Maklicek, you have a Whitaker. Those are two like stout names in the racing world. Do you feel like they're more intimidated by the name or by the actual talent of the young men?
Both.
I think it's both. I think the last name is
What
the
initially gets them.
intimidation.
Yeah.
And then I think the talent scares them because the first generation was okay, wasn't good. You know, second generation showed people what could happen. And then they're worried about what the third generation can do. You know, and I feel like it's just a lot of intimidation and that leads to hatred, unfortunately. Look at NASCAR. People hate, I like Kyle Busch. People hate him because, you know, he's honest and you know, and like,
he says he tells it as it is.
Exactly. And I like that, you know, but I think it's both.
And Erika, so when your dad crests that hill and he shifts it into fourth and then back to third and then back to fourth and back to third.
You're a Catholic at that time.
Finally, he's in the right gear.
So me and James had this conversation the other day. So I've watched James's dad, Paul. I've watched Pistol. I've watched Rebel dabble in racing, like at Lawrence's just practice. Nobody makes me more nervous than my dad.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like it, and not because he's bad. He's not. He's great. It's something about your dad being out
He's your
there
protector.
is something that
I don't call him Wild Bill for nothing.
no, and I'm like, Dad, the last race at the race ranch, the dude's on two wheels and it sits down and he rears.
Never lifted.
No, my heart, I said my buttholes in my mouth, like I was done. Like I was like, oh
No, she
my
was
God.
ready to go. She's
No,
like,
I needed
let's go.
a new pair of tones.
Is that
and
when
like,
you got the 55 natties pounded?
No, no, but I was done. Like that was it. Like I was so stressed out and so nervous and then he just kept going and I'm like, oh,
That honestly, that's how I felt. Like watching my dad was like the most nervous I've ever been.
I thought that was strange though. Like watching Pistol, all right, but I'm not super nervous.
Yeah.
My dad, like it's like, like it just,
that's
it
how
just
I felt.
does.
It just gets you.
It does. It just gets you for whatever reason. And I'm going to say, so you have a name, the Parks name. Is it big? Sure. Is it as big as a Whitaker or a Maklicek? No.
I drove smaller cars.
No. Yes, you sure do.
For a big guy, you have a small.
It's a challenge. I joined the challenge overall.
Getting in or what?
I couldn't tell you who
Getting in's easy,
who
out
initially
is
said it, but somebody at one point said that everybody's your friend until you're winning races. And by God, was that the truest statement I had ever heard?
I think that was some of the roughest times for you.
It was horrible. It was horrible. I don't know how you do it. Because y'all win races all the time.
So
and he did it for like 2 seasons.
So what you have to explain to the listeners is they don't necessarily know the background of that scenario. Obviously, I'm sure she has some of the same scenario, but you'd have to explain to the listeners what exactly it is you're talking about and what took place in some of that. You don't have to get into specific names, but like what was happening behind the scenes that most folks didn't see.
Well, probably the biggest thing is so that car lived at our house, which we had just built. It was built in our garage. It was stocks. It was back then, I guess it was considered a pure stock, but really it was the beginning of the factory stocks. And you were doing really well in it, winning quite a bit of the races. And before the factory stock, everybody was, I'm going to say our friends. Our pits were full every weekend. We were barbecuing. Everybody was hanging out, drinking
Everybody
beer.
was our friend.
Good times. And then once you started winning, the crowd got smaller and smaller.
The attitude changed.
The attitude changed.
Attitude of other people, not us.
No,
I kind of
correct.
felt like we stayed the same.
Yeah, we didn't. Other than we had a trophy sitting on top of the car, ultimately we were still barbecuing. We were still drinking. Like we were just having a good time. celebrating,
Yeah.
but nonetheless. And then eventually I had pistol, and the pits were a little bit, at that time, I was like not super comfortable having her in the pits. She's young, cars are going around fast. So me, my dad, and Pistol started going up in the grandstands to watch. And it's amazing to see how many adults, kids, everybody, track officials heckling and being rude to us while we're there. And then when you would win and go out on the front straight to have the thing, just the screaming and cheater and this and that. And
Heckling.
yes, heckling, it took a toll. I don't think people really see that aspect of things. That was hard. The hardest time in racing for me so far.
it's
So the
like-
hardest time in racing was actually when we were doing the best. And that
Correct.
people don't realize that.
Yeah.
People don't see.
No,
that.
that's why I said I can't imagine how she deals with it.
Because
Because
the cheaters and, you don't deserve it. You're cheating and, you're a track favorite. It's like you work on your shit. Like we just
or
talked
you were
about
handed all of it.
how hard did you work at the shop all day, all night? And yeah, you handed all of it. I'm like, you don't know like how hard we work, like
the sacrifices.
Yeah.
the actual jobs that you do. And I mean, you just see what we show up in. I mean,
Yeah.
dude, it's like, what is it? What's that saying that it's, must be nice or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I can't stand when people say that.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you want
Do you understand?
you want to come live my life like for
Yeah.
a week? No. But I totally, the heckling, that's a big thing why I don't usually sit in the stands.
I will not anymore.
You know,
I don't even go up there.
it was probably like maybe 6-7 years, maybe even more than that. I don't know. I don't remember what kid we were on, but
So he went full send. He didn't like stop early.
Bulldog game's weak. But anyways, so we were all like as a family, grandma, papa, everybody was in the stands, aunts, uncles, everything, and cousins. And you get that heckling. Like he wrecked and like tore something in his knee and had to have knee surgery, but you have people in the stands laughing and cheering, and it pissed me off so bad. I just grabbed, whatever was in front of me, which was a hot dog, and just chunked it at whoever,
Thank God it wasn't
wherever I
nachos.
heard the noise coming. It would just piss me off so bad. Like, why? So the guy that had the heart attack and I don't want to, bring this in at that moment, but the guy who had the heart attack and died, what if that was like my father-in-law, my husband, and you're cheering and he's dead in the car? Like, that just blows my mind how people think like that. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
No, it's a strange scenario. And like I said earlier, it seemed like at one person's highs, it's always somebody else's low. And unfortunately, that's the racing world. But maybe that's any sport. Someone's always going to win and someone's always going to lose.
and there was a comment made last night, and it didn't bother me because of who it came from, but the way that the vision is probably around it is that, the Whitaker name was up here and now it's coming mid-pack, I'm like, he's 13. Like,
He's 13.
he's 13. Like, give
what
him-
other
give him
13-year-old
3 years. Like,
do you see doing that?
Exactly. I that just kind of like, but I'm like, you know what?
It's a
Like,
quick jab to the throat.
It
what
is.
that
I'm like, he's 13. Like,
These are things behind the scenes that I didn't know a lot of this happened. Actually, I didn't know about the heckling as much from the grandstand side till much later on because I just
it's not
assumed.
even grandstands. It's the, like you said, track officials. Like,
It's anywhere.
it's what shirt are you wearing? I mean, not only the recent incidents, but like years back, it's you can't wear this, you can't do that, or you can't talk to them. Like, oh, you like their post? I hate you today.
Why don't let my child have a phone?
I don't even like I don't care about any of that. Oh, hey, did you see so and so post? No, like what? Like I
Half the time I don't even have them as like people on my Facebook.
know,
So I'm
and-
hearing all these things and I'm like, where in the heck
So
did
social
you
media is
see
a
that?
double-edged sword. It's good and bad.
Yeah, and-
Especially for the youngsters, it's
I
just
think
as
it's good
dangerous.
to be able to like, hey, Whitaker's doing this or Pistol's doing that or whatever. That's all great. But then when it turns into the heckling, but people don't have to do it to your face anymore. It turns
they're
into
keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
I feel braver. It's like, say it to my face.
and I think they're nastier. I think it gets nastier when it's hidden behind a computer screen.
Well, it's easier. It's easier to talk in that
for
manner.
sure. They would never do that to one of our faces because they'd probably get punched.
Stabbed.
I'm just telling you the truth. I'm not going to mess around. If somebody's talking about my kid into my face.
And spend a little bit of time in Robstown, so stabbing is not a big deal. We're good to go.
We know some people.
First 48 over here.
No, I'm just like in reality though, like what she's had to deal with, people walking up to her and I'm sure maybe saying some stuff to your face about your son.
To your face, it's like walking by, like walking by your pit because, everybody knows where they would park at. And, that was always the first up when this last incident happened is who's going to get that parking spot. So I'm like, dude, really? That's all you freaking care about? Like, again, grow up. How old are y'all people? But yeah, it's walking by your pits, a heckle. And I remember my aunt just swinging the diaper bag at somebody and smacking them across the face. Like, I just like...
She got her point across.
Yeah.
Did, for real. I mean, I wish it was... And the last incident that happened when Steven, I think it was the last year he had the track when that guy came out and caused this big old huge scene and they had I don't know what happened, but I got my thing that was full of rolled coins and just was beating the crap out of him because he was threatening people and they had him on the ground and that's what they were making fun of me for. I was like, I don't give a shit. Like I was like he was going to come out and he was trying to hurt. I don't know, maybe you want to edit this stuff, but he was trying to hurt people. Like he was going to,
He was a spectator?
He was a spectator and something, I don't even remember, something pissed. Like, see, that's how much I pay attention to people who heckle. Like he was, I don't even remember, he was just doing something and something pissed him off and he was just, I don't know if he had PTSD from the war or whatever, but they had him on the ground and I had my coin purse just
swinging.
It wasn't your coin purse, it was like the bank bag coin purse. Like,
oh, dang.
I was
getting them.
Got it handled.
Yeah. So
Did Junior come up and go, what happened?
I don't even know where he was.
With his shorts on. What happened?
It's probably like, Carolyn,
he was taking care of the kids.
Yeah. Roles were reversed.
No. Yeah. I don't know. I just wish people would grow up and just get over things, past in the past. Like
but we are always going to stand up for
mentioned that.
Ours.
James Starry mentioned that in the podcast that he was on. He said he felt like it was easier for him and Cam because they didn't really have a racing name, a racing family from the past. So what they brought to the table was fresh and new. Mm-hmm. I understand his aspect in saying it's a little cleaner slate to start with, but it's not the clean slate for you guys. You have the racing name, you have the racing past. It's just going to be what it's going to be. But how do you explain to the kids, or how do you teach the boys or the girls? Don't worry about that stuff. You just do you.
Exactly like that. You don't worry about it. They don't need to. They're kids.
But how does that resonate with the kids?
I mean, honestly, it pisses me off. Like how would you like it if someone, like if somebody who doesn't know anything about racing, right? How would you like it if I was at your kid's softball game, you suck, you're cheating, you're about cheating bad, like you're slow as fuck. Like, how would you like if people non-racing, if that's how I showed up to your baseball game, to your volleyball game,
just no
how
respect.
would you as a parent feel? Like, I don't give a shit if like we're not from Cal Allen, but we live in Cal Allen and everybody like roots run deep in Cal Allen. It's like, I don't know anybody there. But everybody knows everybody in Cal Allen. So it's like we show up and I don't know any of the drama. So I think that's kind of like how James is maybe into racing. He probably knows the drama, but doesn't maybe really get involved with it. But I don't know. I just like grow up. That's all I can say is these kids have done nothing to y'all. And
I'm going to say the kids are, I think, I'm not sure about yours. Yours is a little older than Pistol, but like Pistol, it's some of the coolest shit you'll see. She'll go out there and race her little heart out, and she might get bumped. She might do some bumping, like back and forth. They get out of those carts, and guess what?
And
They're best friends playing with the volleyball or playing whatever. They don't give two shits about what happened on that track 10 seconds after it happened.
Meanwhile, we're straightening frames and spindles.
Correct, but they don't see it that way. So I think as long as we don't tell them, hey, did you notice that so-and-so hit you? as long as you don't play into that, like
Yeah,
you just let it roll.
Exactly like you talk about the Whitaker and Macklinchek name. Steven and Parker are like really good friends. They're always messaging each other and talking to each other.
It's a
like
good camaraderie.
we don't bring that down and say, well, don't like them because of this
Because of
happened 15
1982,
years ago.
yeah.
It's like let them build their own perspective of things. Like I don't. That's
fair
how I
enough.
am.
I
Like
think that's the better way to go about it. Let them create their own battles, or let them choose their own battles.
Yeah.
Not every battle has to be fought, and just because something happened with their dad or their uncle or their grandpa 15 years ago, it's not their place now.
yeah, like Steven really has no idea. He's like, why can't I race? I'm like, well, you are gonna race, but I just he doesn't understand that because we don't involve him in what happened, when he was a baby before he was born. He doesn't know any of that stuff. So when he's like, hey, we can only race I-37 or, here, he's like, why? Well, that's how
Things
it's going to
happen.
be,
Things happen and
yeah, he
control.
doesn't need to be involved in that kind of stuff, but it's sad that he is,
It's unfortunate. It was an unfortunate chain of events, but we can't change what happened, and that's where we're at now. So, what do you see him doing from here? Obviously, we're racing some sport mod stuff. Recently, he was doing a little E-mod racing as well. Where do we go from here? Because Steven Jr., he hasn't quit racing either. So were we going two lane models? What are we doing?
I don't think he knows what he wants. I think, I don't know. Like you said, the bugs find parts, and you're never going to get out of that. Excuse me. Please. But you're not
42 natty lights later.
Hey, that means we have to shotgun, right? Because he said that. No, I think he's still going to give the third a chance. I mean, you have to, like, just because he wasn't as perfect as you were. I think that he knows he's got big shoes to fill. So I think he goes out there under that pressure to be perfect, to make sure he's going to make his dad happy. And then he comes in the pits and he just, when he's had a bad day and it's like, or had a bad rate, or, you wrecked your shit. And, like I said, I don't know. It's hard to explain if you're not there,
Yeah.
Like,
No.
it's,
Does yours ever get his earrings stuck in his helmet and then ball the entire time?
Bad day.
Bad day.
Bad day.
Bad day in the pistol camp.
My job was to pull that rope, and she was crying. I didn't know why.
well, see, I'm glad that my first is a boy that's in racing, not a girl, because I don't, like, Steven's always saying, Shardy ain't going to do nothing. I'm like, you can't say that, because that's what you have to give them the chat. If they want to do it, you're not going to
Not going to tell him no.
hold her back.
Yeah.
Especially that's a daddy's girl, and she does everything perfect.
Speaking of daddy's girls, Pistol was in the lineup, and I looked over. She was crying, and I told her, "What's wrong?" And she said, "My earring is stuck in my helmet." And it was time for her to like go out on the track, and my job is to start like pull the rope. So I don't do earring. So I had to go. I had to run, which is a bad deal. If I'm running, there's a problem, and there was. So Erika had to come and fix up the earring situation, and we got her off and going. But it sounds funny, but I had no idea what to do.
No, and it was catastrophic for her. Like she thought it was the end
I
of the
can half-ass make the go-kart turn. I can start it. I have no idea about the earrings. What do I do?
So does she wear earrings now?
She does not even have her ears pierced anymore. She was like, "I'm done. I'm done."
I don't blame her.
She took them out.
That sounds painful.
Yeah,
Traumatized.
she took them out. She does not have earrings anymore.
She has her priorities alignment. Poor dad.
We didn't think she was going to continue racing the go-karts much longer, but she says she's going to stay with it. So
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
She
from
says every now and then, when I get in a big car, and I'm like, "Oh dear Lord."
So is big car going to be like mini mod?
Preferably, I would prefer to put her in like I wouldn't say a bomber, but pure start now.
Yeah.
A big fendered car.
600cc micro sprint with a wing.
No.
So there was
That's where your dad's
also
going to drive.
another comment about kids classes. I don't think there's any kids classes.
There isn't. There isn't a specified
There's
kids
not,
class.
because if there was a kids class, in my opinion, go-karts is a kids class. Look how many adults run go-karts.
Correct.
You know, it's like you can't classify a class that has no age restriction, you know?
If there was an age restriction, then I see that, okay. But ultimately, it comes down to how much can you afford.
Yeah, it's a budget
What
class.
can you, yeah, what can you afford?
Age class.
So, I don't know, though. I would put her in the biggest, bulkiest, full steel.
So a late model.
Yeah,
So a late model.
No.
You just described a late model.
I'm talking like an old clunker.
I don't even think they have old clunker
I
classes
know.
anymore.
Like a
I think the old
steel body
Cadillac
car.
Like
not
the old Cadillac that we had, that thing you could run it in
Caddy.
anything, and it did not do anything to that thing.
So tell me, as we're kind of winding the show down here, tell me what a Friday and Saturday night on a race weekend entails at your house, at your establishment. Getting the boys and everything ready to go. Obviously, we have school all week. Let's just assume it's school time. So tell us what that consists of. What role does mom play in that? What role does the children's play in that? And obviously your oldest son, Steven Jr.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if I don't know, Stephen does a lot. Like my husband does a lot, but I think on a Friday night, you know, or Friday afternoon,
Are we watching YouTube videos and you're like, turn here, let off here?
No, I'm watching murder mysteries. Like that's what our my channel
You're
is
not
on.
taking notes, are you? Like when
Well,
you're doing
depends.
that? Okay. We have that problem at our house.
Just don't look under the mattress, honey.
Nothing to see here.
No, Steven gets home about the third gets home about 4:45. We go to the shop, and he kind of gets bossed around on what to do, and he acts like he has no idea what he's doing.
But he's putting in the time.
He
doesn't
is.
just show up and race.
Yeah, I don't know. He does. He puts in some time, whether it be the like little computer wheeled chair time where he wheels back and forth, or he's maybe wiping things down, or
He's
I don't know.
involved.
Yeah, he's involved. Anyways, Jace, on the other hand, he can give two shits about anything. If it's baseball weekend, yeah, all right, I'm playing baseball. If it's race car weekend, I'm racing. Dax, he don't really care either. And Charlie's just, where's mom? So we are all involved. Obviously Stephen the third is more, but Saturday, usually they spend the night at my in-laws and the shops at their house. So they just wake up and he has to call them like, you were supposed to be here before I was and I'm here. So where are you at? You better get your ass over here. So, and then they spend the day Saturday working on their stuff and getting it together. So, and I show up and, hey, get the ice chest ready. Sweep out the trailer. I'm like, that's what we had kids for, right? Isn't that what you told me at the house?
I didn't sign up for this.
But anyways, that's my weekend. How's your weekend?
So I'm gonna say I don't have a kid that
Schedule?
races a big car yet, but it's work all week. Fridays come around, obviously pick the kids up from school, daycare, bring them home. If they want to come here, they're more than welcome to. I will happily drop their little asses off.
Drop them off.
But they normally, Pistol is more so will hang out with dad. Rebel is, where's mom? And then I'm going to say James and Dudley and whomever else is here helping load everything, sweep the trailer, do all that good stuff. They do it all. Saturday, normally around 3 or so, James comes home and he tells us what time he wants to leave to the races. I get the kids ready to go and make sure they got their little backpacks with all their goodies in it. Because they're not racing. They're just going to have.
when we're going to
Yeah,
races.
the kids have like fucking backpacks, shoulder bag. I'm like, what are we
Pack up
doing?
your toys. Let's go.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
too
guilty of
much.
it myself, though. I had my little Hot Wheels and my toys, so I'm guilty of it.
Yeah,
myself.
so then we all go to the track. The kids, Pistol's old enough now. We finally let her wander.
But still, you have to
Wander the
worry
races.
about those people who don't have the kids. Like
Yeah.
this weekend at I-37, we had to tell someone's parent because they were hauling ass through the pits. It's like,
I've had words with racers that
need to
went a
just-
little too fast right next to
can
my
go high,
pit area.
yes, be careful.
Yeah, people don't understand that there are littles running around, and you got to be careful.
And they're just as important as the adults.
Yeah,
obviously.
They're more important.
No,
They're more important.
I agree. They paid for a pit pass. They're a future. They're a racing future.
Yep.
There was an incident last night with a racer that got out of his car and kind of made a scene.
Oh.
And Pistol was taken back by that. And I just had to explain to her that sometimes people's emotions get the best. And it doesn't mean that what he did was right or wrong. I don't approve of it. She should not approve of it, but she needs to understand that there are highs and lows in racing. And she has had her own highs and lows. She's been crying on the racetrack after getting wrecked. Like I had to talk her back into the race because she had given up. But I want her to understand that things happen and you have to learn to choose your battles, and you have to learn to understand that you're not always going to win and you're not always going to lose. But at the same time, you should always at least try to have a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's hard. That's hard for me as a dad to tell my daughter at 9, we did all right. Well, deep down, I'm like, man, I feel like I dropped the ball. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
Because I tell Erika, this is what I tell Erika with Pistol's go-kart stuff. It's my job to make a turn. It's my job to make sure it starts. It's my job to get it there. It's up to Pistol once she crests the hill and goes on the go-kart track. And I can only hope that I gave her the best equipment and the best opportunity. And I'm sure it's the same way in your household with your husband, feeling that he put him out there in the best product, but it just takes time. The added pressure of the last name, the added pressure of the past, the added pressure of everything on that young man can be very tough, very hard. Even from my point of view, from the outside looking in, because I know you guys, I know the pressure, I see it, but he does really well.
Oh yeah,
He really does.
He really is. I mean,
Yeah.
what other 13-year-old is out there doing what he's doing?
So if there was,
And he hasn't been doing it just this year. How old was he when he got in a big car?
3 years ago. Maybe.
So you were talking 10, 11. Yeah. What 10 or 11 year olds is out
so if
there
there was
doing that?
any advice that each one of you could give to one parent, mother, grandmother, whoever, maybe their young one is coming into the racing world, what is one piece of advice that you would give to them?
Buckle up, Buttercup. Good luck. I don't think it's foremost. Hence why there's not a whole lot of us.
No, it seems like it's a lot of the same names that continue to support the racing.
Or they
that keep
marry into
growing.
each other.
Yeah. I don't think it's for.
Okay, that's not a little red flag, but
Cool. Not sure where we're going, but
I just don't. I don't think it's for a lot. I don't think people quite understand.
is it a lifestyle more than just a hobby?
Yes, it is. No, it's not just a lifestyle. It is a life. Like, it is racing. We work racing.
I mean, you plan your vacations around. Like I saw
Yes.
Steven. He's always like, "Where are we going on vacation?" I'm like, "I don't know. Where are you racing?" So I can
what
figure
are
out
the
where we can
racing
take
dates?
vacation.
Yes,
You know.
agreed.
So yeah.
So when we traveled a
If we're
bunch
taking a
with the dwarf car stuff, that's what Erika said. I've seen a lot of racetracks, but I've seen nothing else.
Yeah.
No, there was
And that
no.
was an
And I would be
eye-opener
like,
to me.
"Oh, look, there's." Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
That was an eye opener to me because growing up, it was just we're going to the racetrack.
Yeah.
Like that was my grandpa's mindset. That was my dad's mindset. There was nothing in between. From my grandpa's house to the racetrack, there was nothing.
Or
in
it was
between.
like,
Didn't matter.
where can we go? Like, hey, we're going to Vegas. Where can we go? 2 days before to kind of utilize the time you're going to be over there
Yeah.
to do something.
something.
Yeah.
Erika isn't like Vegas.
I really didn't care for Vegas.
I went to Vegas by
Yeah,
myself.
With
Shit.
kids. Vegas is not. It does.
Yeah.
It does. It stinks, and it's just. I'm not a gambler.
It was
so-
better
yeah.
than Louisiana, I thought.
No, New Orleans stunk even worse.
I've never been
Orleans
in
was rough.
Orleans.
It stunk.
So you don't get to avoid the question. What is your bit of advice that you could give to? And I'm going to say the moms or the grandmas or the female side. Like, what is your best advice that you can give to someone that's coming in, because it is a rocky road. It's a competitive world. It's expensive.
Yeah,
These
that's-
things are not
That's for
cheap.
sure. I would say just don't feed into the drama. Don't listen to it.
Don't be the drama.
Do your own thing. Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, do your own thing. Shake everyone's hand. Like go out. like I said, Steven and Parker are good friends. Like go shake their hand. Like even though they somebody was gonna pay off somebody to spin somebody else, go shake their hand if they beat you. Like, just blow off the drama. I know that was really hard for me, like the hot dog incident and the baby diaper incident. That was really hard to get over that. But at the end of the day, what are you doing? Like you have that 5 seconds of feel better, and then what? Like
then you kind of embarrassed.
Yeah, it's like, okay, now what? Like
you're not going to live the lifestyle that whoever was heckling.
Exactly.
So, and they're not going to live yours.
And I don't want my kids to see that. I don't want my kids to be like, dang, mom got in a fight, or I'm like, first off, you're not worth
Mom made the news.
You're not worth my nursing license, and I'm not all about that. So my kids can pick and choose who they want to like or not like, and I'll do it on the back end, like I'll do it at home and, in front of Steven.
Well, awesome, ladies. Did y'all have a good time today? Y'all were both very nervous.
I did. Yeah. I feel like I was sweating a lot. That camera.
It's like a heat lamp, right? It's like, I feel like a chicken nugget underneath.
I don't look any tanner.
Yeah, me neither. I don't think I do.
We weren't here that long.
I don't know.
No, I will burn outside in 5 minutes flat. So
yeah, they're like, do you tan? No, I freckle. I don't tan.
I just turn red and peel.
Well, awesome, ladies. I'm glad to have you guys on the Mother's Day edition of the Thunder Road podcast. I had a really good time. It was exactly what I wanted. It was mostly you two talking, chit-chatting like little hens, and I was perfectly fine with that. So with that being said, happy Mother's Day, both of y'all. Thank y'all for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us. Or me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Thunder Road podcast. I'd like to take a minute to thank Carolyn Whiteaker and Erika Parks for coming on the show and sharing their experiences with us. I'd also like to take a minute to thank our sponsors, 112 Bodies, ProLane Fabrication, S&S Munions, and of course, Top Hat Signs and Designs.